Hey folks, it's Mrs. Jones. I just wanted to talk you through adding some contour lines. Now, we've been doing a technique called blind contour, and that is where we're actually drawing the inner and outer edges of different objects without looking at it. An actual contour line is a line that varies in width. So I started out with an outline everywhere. That means it's just a single width line as I have been drawing. But a contour line is where you are picking and choosing certain areas to exaggerate. So right now, this area around my glasses, you can see, I have been going in and picking areas that I want to exaggerate. Now, there's no rhyme or reason when it comes to contour lines. You're simply looking for areas that you want to exaggerate. Areas that I tend to look for might be curves, areas that are strongly overlapping. Right now, I'm wanting my glasses frames to be a little bit more dynamic because that is going to be my focal point. Now notice there's a difference between just making a thicker outline like this. That's still pretty much all the same width versus like right up here on the top of my frames, I've been kind of exaggerating this curve. So it's going to fade from thick to thin. That is what a contour line does. It's fading from thick to thin. And again, I am really exaggerating these around some of the curves. Okay, but this is a technique that you can look through your drawing and pick some areas to make more bold. Now notice, because I'm just using a pen right now, sometimes pens kind of bleed, especially if you're using the white sulfite paper. So just try to make your line quality as fluid as you can. And again, it just depends on which paper you decided to use. But you can kind of slightly overlap some of those areas that you've already gone and just kind of blend it out. Try to make it smooth, okay? Now, the other thing I wanted to mention to you is, I'm going to zoom out here really quickly, is starting to think about areas that you want to add some color or some contrast. And again, part of your goal is to create a focal point. And so what I started doing is I really like some of these thin little lines. So I started thinking about my negative space. That's the space around or in between. And those are some of the areas that I am thinking about focusing on right now. And so you can do some hatched lines. You can kind of see I used a couple of different colors down here. And hatching is just really quick strokes. If you try to do it too perfectly straight and slow, they end up anything but straight and fluid. So I'm just doing a really quick scrawl, and obviously you can see that my value is getting darker the more I build that layer up. So if I wanted it to be really, really dark near the edge here, I would just need to change the spacing and add more. You can see now that the value is getting darker because I'm spacing my lines more closely together. So I always like to start out a little bit more spread apart, just because you can always add more. You can't take it away with pen. And you can change the length of your strokes. I'm going to switch pens back here. And again, think about what materials you have access to here in the classroom. I've got a lot of these different gel pens that are really thin. I like to use the thin pens to still have some detail, some significant detail. I like the crispness of the line quality that it gives me. But that's one way that you can add some tone. You can think about your color scheme again. You don't necessarily want to use every single color in the rainbow, but more of a limited palette. But I think over here I might try some scribbling. And again, I'm trying to focus on some of the negative spaces. And again, with the scribbling technique, I can layer my colors, or I can make it a little bit more of a tight scrawl to make it a little bit more value. I can add some black pen in there too. Some areas you may want to just add some little line accents, or maybe even some sort of pattern. But this is just a real quick video to kind of show you and introduce you to some different ideas. Maybe you even might think about areas of strong overlap. Like in this area, I have a lot of overlapping going on with the eye and the fingers and the eyebrow. And so maybe just in this one little spot where my finger and my eyebrow are kind of overlapping, I might just choose one little area to fill in, okay? But still thinking, what is going to be your focal point, and how can I use color or line or pattern to still keep that area my focal point? So I might choose to repeat some of this kind of technique or color around the negative space. I might even add another little section of drawing, maybe around like a hairline or something, just to give it a little bit more of a finished edge.